And so this is the Speakeasy podcast where we talk about the speaker and author journey. We talk about literally the things that people don't want to discuss, the wardrobe malfunctions, the turning in the wrong things, the trying to edit your own book, those types of things. But today, we're going to be talking about, what does it look like when preparing that perfect quote unquote speech? Now, we know that there's no such thing as the perfect speech. Let's just be real. Let's just be honest. There's no such thing as the perfect speech. But with that being said, literally, I can understand that it may not be perfect, but it'll be, pristine, but it'll be perfect for the audience that it was made for. So as I am coming on, I appreciate you guys, those who have come and joined the community already, those who have already come and shared and invited. I always love engaging with you guys. And so I'm going to make sure that I can connect with you guys and get the comments as you guys are sharing them out, because we always love to be able to engage and answer your comments right away. That being said, I can hear myself, and that was great. So, okay, when it comes to this perfect speech, everybody gets so amped, like they get so nervous. They literally are trying to figure this whole, well, what do you mean the perfect speech? What do you mean? People, I can tell you the first thing that always pops in people's heads when you tell them that they need to give a speech, they immediately start freaking out about the time. Listen, when you understand that once you start talking, especially if you're speaking about something that you are passionate about, you can go on forever. The time should never be a factor. And so I get some people who get upset because they're like, oh, it's only a little bit of time. I get other people who are like, oh, but it's too much time. No, it's not really too much time. It's just enough time. I can guarantee you that. So with that being said, when we think about the journey of writing this speech, never allow time to be the reason why you get scared and don't get it done. Never allow time to be the reason why you say, no, this is not the opportunity for me. I've done speeches that were 8 minutes long. I've done speeches that were 30 to 45 minutes long. And it's always, there's no problem there. And I teach my clients how to create a speech that you can do in any time frame. That is a very key element when it comes to writing a speech, is that I should be able to be flexible with my speech. If my speech doesn't leave me to be flexible with it, then is it really my speech? Is it really like something that I can really claim as my own? Is it really what I put out into the world? Because guess what? So many people go and they write down stuff and they take a little bit from here and they take a little bit from here, and they kind of doing this like Frankenstein thing, trying to create a speech. And it works for some people, but the reality is it's not authentically you. And so because it's not authentically you, what if something happens and you have to cut that speech down? See, when it's your story, when it's your transparency, when it's honestly your fingerprint that you are putting on the world, I can craft that however I need to. I don't have to do it in 45 minutes. I can do it in 10. Heck, I've done a speech in 5. We must understand the power of our voice. We must understand the power within our story. And so when we understand that power, hey, Cheryl, when we understand that power, when we understand that strength, then guess what? It won't take us forever to write it out. Now, granted, we may still need to have, because I have clients that, listen, have been my clients for years ago who will call me up and say, hey, I need to write out a speech for an upcoming event. Do you have time on your calendar? Yes, I have clients that come and do that. Why? Because sometimes you need that person that you can kind of bounce ideas off of, that you can kind of, talk to them about and kind of recraft some things and put some things out there. So I have clients that will call me up and say, hey, Unicorn, I need you. I need some time on your phone, on your calendar, so that way I can help, I can write out this speech with you. But the reality is that when you're writing out your speech, listening to a whole bunch of other speeches is never the way to go. I always tell people that, when I'm going to do an event, I try not to do a whole lot of talking, or if I do, I talk about stuff that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about with my speech. Why? Because if not, then stuff will be added in and I can't do all that. But if I just have regular conversations, I'm great. I'm fine. Why is that? Well, most people write their speeches down. I don't. I created a signature thing. It's called the SNAP method for me. And it's interesting because I see a couple people using different SNAP methods now. But I created my own SNAP method for me to be able to literally have my speech in my head. And no matter what length of time I need to speak, I have it down pat. I did that. But all of that said and good, because, I've been speaking for some time. We're talking about you writing your perfect speech, because we're not the same person. And so what works for me is not always going to work for you. But with that being said, there are 5 things that you really need to look at when you're going to craft this amazing, phenomenal, oh my goodness, speech, right? So if you haven't done so already, this is a great time for you to share out the broadcast or share out the podcast. Guess what? You can share it out from Spreaker, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you may be catching this particular episode, or even on LinkedIn. Because guess what? Some of you are catching the video of this via LinkedIn. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming on. Make sure that you put in the comments, replay viewer, or leave questions in the comments if you have any along the way, and I'll always come back and engage with you guys, because guess what? There is no Speak Easy podcast without you, and I am your host, the voice coach. I am your host, I am your coach, and this is what it is all about for me. So when I think about writing this speech, and some of you may want to get some pen and paper so that we can take a few notes while you're here, and literally, I think about, number 1 is I want to challenge awareness. My speech is going to do 1 or 2 things. It's going to motivate, it's going to educate. But no matter what, I want to change the status quo. So that means I may have to challenge the awareness of some of the people in the audience. Now, this is interesting. It'll differ depending on where you're speaking. I have some audiences where I'm speaking and the audience is directly connected to me. So I know their stories, I know their passion, I know their purpose. They've gone through abuse, so that's that connection that we have. But there are other times where I'm in front of a crowd and that's not necessarily my connection with them. I could be speaking to them about becoming a professional speaker. I could be speaking to them about writing their book and telling their story. I could be speaking to them on a number of different topics. But the reality comes in is that I always am going to be challenging their awareness. I want them to look at something that they thought that they knew 150 to 200%. They knew it. I want them to look at it and say, okay, maybe that's not exactly the way it should go. Maybe I can do this. Maybe the people that told me that I wasn't going to be good enough or that I wasn't smart enough, maybe they were wrong. And so they really have to go and look and say, what am I going to do in my speech to challenge their awareness? You really have to make that distinction early on, because so many people get bogged down by, oh my goodness, the length, and oh my goodness, I want to have something for them to visualize, and I want them to do this, and I want them to remember my name. And listen, have you ever done something or gone somewhere and had somebody challenge an idea or a thought process that you had, and you not remember them or not remember what it is they were talking about? Listen, I get it all the time. I listened to a speech and a gentleman was talking about the law of attraction. He was talking about this dime, and he said he challenged himself and said that every day I'm going to get a dime. Every day I'm going to find a dime. And so he said the first day he almost tripped on his way to class, and what was on the ground? A dime. For me, it's a little different because I'm a tad bit special. So for me, it's not a dime that I see everywhere I go. It's unicorns. I know. You weren't ready for that. I understand. Yes, everywhere I go, I find unicorns. I promise you I do. I have literally gone into stores, huge stores, and out of that whole store, I can find the one unicorn item that they have in the whole store. Why? Because I think of myself in that way. I'm very bright, vibrant, or I try to be very vibrant. I try to be that unique person. I try to be that person listen, I don't fit into anybody's box. So I'm always thinking about that unicorn. Well, guess what? It stands out. And it came through, and I was laughing about it just recently when I went to the beach. And in every store we went into, no matter what the store was, I found the unicorn. Yeah, it was almost like a treasure hunt, right? So for him, it was the dimes. For me, it was unicorns. But still, it challenged people's awareness because we don't believe all the time that what I'm thinking about, what I'm really, die hard thinking about is what's going to show up in my life. So it challenged awareness. Not only did he challenge them all the way because he said, I want you, when you start finding your dimes or whatever it is that you say you're going to find, I want you to text me. I want you to send me a message because I want to know that what I'm saying really works. That's one of those little secret things that, we can do from the stage, not selling from the stage. No, building relationships and communicating from the stage. That part. People don't talk about that, but that's a whole nother segment. And so I have to challenge their awareness. When I challenge their awareness, it makes them stand out. It makes them sit up and say and take notice of what I'm saying. Because they're either one, going to agree, or they're going to two, disagree, or they're going to be three, kind of confused, but they're still going to be paying attention to what it is you're saying. So definitely want to challenge their awareness. That brings me to number 2, is you got to be transparent. So many times people want to show up at an event. They want to be dressed to the nines. They got the heels on, hair did, faces beat. And the reality is that's great, but are you really showing up when you're giving your speech? I've heard so many speeches that were so dry. It was like listening to the dry eyes guy. And I feel bad because I think sometimes it's because it's the person's personality. They're just not that type of person. But then that means that you really need to take a look at yourself and say, what is it that I can do that's my personality, that's my story? What can I share that's really going to stand out? And so we go and we talk about what Les Brown is doing, and we go and we do our speech, but we're talking about Lisa Nichols, and we're doing our speech, and we're talking about Oprah Winfrey, and we're doing our speech, but we're talking about everybody else. But the reality is that I already know their stories, or at least bits and pieces of it. And it's great to make that connection, but I want to know about you. See, ultimately, what we have to remember is that people buy from who they know, like, and trust. So if you're going to be transparent and you're going to share your story, I'm going to get to know, like, and trust you. Now, it may not be overnight. It may take some time. I have people that met me last year that are signing up for classes with me this year because they know, like, and trust me now. But it was because of my transparency then. And see, I get it. We're in a society that, what happens in this house stays in this house. We're in a society where, why are you telling everybody your business? That ain't their business. But the reality is that oftentimes people do things to the extreme, like commit suicide and start drinking and taking drugs because they feel as though they're alone. When you're writing your speech, are you allowing the listener, are you allowing the person that is watching you on stage to have that comfortability saying, I am not alone. Wow, they've been where I am. They've gone through the exact same things that I've gone through. Let me listen to how they made it out. Or, wow, they went through a divorce while they were trying to build their business. Maybe I need to sign them as a coach because they'll understand exactly what I'm going through. Your transparency can mean everything, because your transparency, it does open you up. Now, this is the disclaimer. When you are transparent, there will be people that use that against you. When you are transparent, there will be people that judge you because of your transparency. When you are transparent, there will be people that try to break you down to the least common denominator and make you feel as though you are less than who you really are. Don't believe them. I get it on a regular basis. I often have people who will say different things to me and who will attempt to belittle me or to try to make me feel less of a person because of the past that I've had. But the reality is that my past, although it's a part of me, it does not define where my future will be. I'll repeat that real quick for the cheap seats. See, my past is part of me, so I can be very transparent about the homelessness. I can be transparent about the molestation. I can be transparent about all of these things that I endured as a child. I can be transparent about all these things I endured even now, because that transparency allows people to understand that they're not alone. But oh yeah, there's going to be somebody that uses it against you. There's going to be somebody that speaks negatively of you because you decided to share that innermost secret that they can't share. See, that's the problem. Most times they can't share it themselves. And so they're nervous about you sharing it. See, the reason why the whole Me Too movement made such an impact is because it opened up the dialogue. It allowed other women to understand that they were not alone. Not only were they not alone, but they were going through the same pain as somebody else. It's interesting, because when you hold on to something, it makes it very painful. How many of you have ever played tug of war with the real tug of war with the rope, with the thick rope, that when that thing run across your hands, you either let go or you about to be in pain. See, when we play tug of war, sometimes the tug of war, and look, we're going a little deep today. Sometimes the tug of war is with your destiny. And you pulling and you pulling and you pulling, and you got to keep going because it's your destiny. But other times the tug of war is with popularity. I know that was an ouch. Sometimes the tug of war is not with your destiny, it's with popularity. And I don't need to have a tug of war with popularity. So if people show up to the broadcast, if people show up to the podcast, I appreciate each and every listener. I appreciate each and every viewer. But I do not have to do a tug of war with popularity. And oftentimes people are fearful of being transparent because they think they have to tug of war with popularity. And we'll talk more about that on another segment, but I definitely had to share that part. Yes, we tug of war with that popularity on a regular basis. I don't have to be popular. To help people, I just need to be transparent. So that was number 2, is you got to really be transparent transparent. I got to talk about my pivotal moments. I got to talk about what they meant to me, because they may be meaning the same thing to somebody else. And I never will know until I open my mouth and discuss it. So with that being said, look, I love it. I love the comments coming from those in the ass. Your past is just what it is, the past. You better say that, Patricia. And so, it's very interesting when we go through a situation, because we can't decide where it's going to end. Like, we have a goal in mind, we have a finish line that we're trying to, reach. But guess what? Some things happen along the way. And by us being transparent, we allow other people to know that, guess what? You'll have a fork in the road, and it's okay to make a decision to go left or right. But then that takes us to number 3. This is the thing, and this is why this is the shift that has been happening when it comes to people going to live events and buying tickets. This is the shift that's happening, is that literally so many people go and they get motivated, and it's that rah-rah cheerleader, let's go, woo! And then they don't have any real action to move forward. They don't have any real action. Or they've been riled up. How many of you have gone to places and you've been riled up and you've been excited and you left and you were so excited to make this next, take this next step and move forward in your business, move forward in your life. And the reality was you got all riled up and had no action steps for years and decades. People have been going to events where they have gotten motivation and no way to apply it. Or the only way to apply it was through some really high ticket item, right? It was some high ticket priced item or situation. And so it was interesting for me when I did my first tour, my live tour, the Love My Voice tour, was that instead of having this high ticket item and sell from the stage at the end of the event or while I was doing the event, I didn't sell anything from the stage. And some people may think that that's odd. Some people may think that that's, that wasn't smart, because you're supposed to sell from the stage. You're supposed to upsell people. And we're supposed to be making, new clients and this and that, and that's cool. But the reality is that wasn't why I wanted them there. I wanted them to be able to move into the next level of their personal journey. I wanted them to be able to move into the next level of their life. And in order for me to do that, it's not always about me selling you something from the stage. Not that part. So it was completely different. And for those of you who missed it, by all means, you can still get the replay. Put Love My Voice Tour replay in the comments, and I'll come back with a link for you guys to get the replays from the first 3 cities down, 3 cities left to go. We're super excited. We'll be starting the second leg of the tour in August. Looking forward to that part really soon. And thank you guys, those who have shared it out. I appreciate you guys. And so literally, you have to make them want to take action. It's good to get them all riled up. It's good to make them excited. It's good to encourage and support. But I want you to take action. I want you to go home and step forward in your business. I want you to go to that event and come back with some action steps. So that way, the next time I see you, you can say you published the book. The next time that I see you, you can say that you went ahead and started the business. The next time that I see you, I want you to be able to tell me, you know what? I started sewing again. I started painting again. I want to see action. Your speech should make them want to take action. It shouldn't just make them feel good. Make me feel good. Look, just have flashbacks. Make me feel good. No. I don't want to just feel good. I want to get something done. Because feeling good is great. Feeling good is amazing. But feeling good does not change your legacy. Feeling good is great. Feeling good, feeling great. Hey, feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Feeling good is great, but feeling good does not change my legacy at all. Feeling good is great, but what happens when the feel good goes away? See, when I encourage you to take action, you can take action whether you feel good or not. Can we be honest? Can we be honest? You can take action whether you feel good or not. So with that being said, I want you to do more than just feel good. I want you to take action. And so there should be some piece of your message that tells them to take action. There should be some piece of your message that tells them it's about to go down. And if you're not, then you may need to go back and relook at your speech. You might need to go back and relook at it. And so right now, for those who are just coming in, I thank you for my replay viewers. I thank you for those who are listening in. But this is all about writing that quote unquote perfect speech. And so far, I'll do a quick recap. We talked about you have to go through, you got to challenge their awareness, challenge what it is that they say they know or that they think is the right way to do things or the right way to go. You also have to be very transparent. Be okay with talking about your pivotal moments in your life, the things that you have gone through. I myself talk more in depth about going through those pivotal moments and how you can take those pivotal moments and create your speech or your book. In my second book, Define Your Voice, if you go to bit.ly/press series, all lowercase, you can go and find my books that are located on Amazon, and you can get Define Your Voice. It is located there. But with that being said, again, you have to be transparent about those pivotal moments in your life. Number 3 was make them want to take action. It's great to give them steps, but if I have not made you want to take action, then giving you the steps means nothing. Giving you resources means absolutely nothing. Making you feel good means absolutely nothing. I need to make you want to take action when you leave, or while you're there, I need you to want to take action. That takes me to number 4, repetition. Repetition is key. Oh yeah, repetition is key. And so what is repetition? Repetition is there should be something in your speech that you keep repeating. And so when I did my most recent speech was, it's time to rewrite your Cinderella story. That was what I kept repeating to them, is that it's time to rewrite your Cinderella story. All throughout my speech, that was my key thing. I've had some speeches where it's time to power up, or it's hold my hand. Look at those around you and understand that it's time to hold somebody else's hand. I've done speeches where I've used repetition. Why do we use repetition? Anybody know? Anybody know? We use repetition because repetition is how people remember. So many times people get so amped when writing a speech that you want to give them all of this great information, but then you're expecting them to remember it. Or you're expecting them to, can I be honest with you? You're expecting them to go back to the paper that they wrote it on. Let's just be real. You guys know that I'm very transparent. How many speeches have you heard and written notes on that you've gone back and reread? Don't worry, I'll wait. How many speeches? Let's be honest. Let's be real. When you write notes in church on Sunday, do you go back through those notes throughout the week? Later in the month? Later in the year? Let's just be honest. Let's be real. When you write notes, when you go to an event, do you go back and look at those notes? Go ahead. I told you guys, I'm very transparent. I know that I don't always go back and look at notes, but when it comes to certain things, certain speeches, I may go back and like scan over it, but I'm not going to go back in depth through every single thing that you said and try to recreate the moment. It's not going to happen. So repetition allows me to have something that I take away, like with the dime. Why? Because he kept talking about this dime. and all of these dimes he kept finding. Like with the dime, it stayed with me. Now, that particular event was last year sometime. I think like December, 6 months ago. And I remembered as if he had told it yesterday. I can almost tell you verbatim the whole message. But it was because of that repetition within his message that he literally went and made me remember. He gave me something that was always going to be triggered. Every time I see a dime, I'm going to go back to that dime story. Every time I hear somebody talk about the law of attraction, I'm going to go back to that dime story. And it's interesting because I've used this even in my coaching. And so I'll give you this little tidbit. I have a weekly accountability call on Saturdays. And what we talk about is that wonderful thing. We talk about business. We talk about what's going on in their business, how to take their business to the next level. Well, one of the segments that we talked about was about churros. Now, for those of you who do not know the lovely goodness of what a churros are heaven, sent with cinnamon and sugar for all of us to enjoy. That is what a churros is. I had to take a moment for the churros. That is what churros are. It is heaven wrapped in cinnamon and sugar and warmed up to perfection with ice cream beside it. Don't judge me. If you've been following the Speakeasy podcast for any length of time, you know that I'm a foodie. Don't judge me. So, but churros, we talked about it, and there's nobody really knows the origin of where churros came from. They kind of like, oh, it might have came from here. Oh, well, maybe it came from there. Well, possibly it came from here. They really don't know where it originated from. And it was a great message that I gave to my accountability group. And I'm going to share this message with you, is that oftentimes people get so hung up on where the origin of something is, where it came from, how it got to where it was. But the reality is that I'm here now and I'm going to make it work. I'm here now and I'm going to make the difference. I still get messages from my clients who would literally, they would take pictures of churros. They would see it in the store. They would see it in the supermarket. They would see it. They would go to a restaurant and see it on the menu, and they would take pictures and send it to me and tag me. And they would always say, I am churros. Why is that so important? Because it was repetition that kept them, thinking about it. And every time they saw it, it brought it back to their memory. What are you saying that's going to bring that message back to their memory later on? Or are you talking about something that's so way over their head that they'll never think about your message ever again? And we already discussed it. We already were transparent about it. People don't go back and watch and reread your notes. They don't. I know you worked really hard on those notes, guys. I know. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I know that you worked really hard on those notes and making it all pretty. And the reality is that most people do not go back, not never, go back and reread those notes. But they appreciate the gesture. They appreciate it. And let's be honest. So I'm going to go to our audience. And they said, some people are like, yeah, sometimes I do go back, but it's not a guarantee that I'm going to go back and look at those notes. And so they say calories, and more calories. Yes, churros it's pure calorie goodness. That's all it is, guys. It's sugary calorie goodness. Heated up in the oven, and it's just, and the whole house smells sweet. It's bad, guys. It really is. But they'll forever remember that message that I gave because of the connection that I made with that. And your speech has to do the same thing. So that repetition is going to mean everything. People are going to look for it. They're going to listen for it. But that's what's going to stand out and make your speech memorable. So even if they never go back to your notes, they'll remember who you are by what you said. Sound familiar? They'll remember who you are by what you said. Sound familiar? So that leads us to number five, and that's end strong. I get so many people that say, okay, well, how do you end a speech? And they're like, well, how do I end it? Do I end with selling from the stage? How do I, make it memorable at the end? What stands out? Some people use their ending to sell from the stage, which can be very memorable depending on how you do it. Now, I'm not saying sell from the stage saying, hey, I got this $2,000 program that y'all need to sign up for. How, Sway? How? That's not selling from the stage. Selling from the stage is giving them, empowering them, and letting them know that you have something that can help them take them to the next level. Whatever that may be, understand that a lot of times when you go to an event, people don't often bring money all the time. They're not at the event to buy $90,000 worth of stuff. Some people do, but not always. And if they are, it's little things, it's smaller things that they want to invest in order to take their business or their life or their legacy into the next level. It's usually not something really big. So you may go to some conferences and you know your audience. This is why we say it's very key to know and research your audience so you know what you're dealing with. You may go and speak at some events and there may be somebody in the audience that can pay for your $25,000 program, but that's not going to be at every event. You may have people in the audience who may not be able to pay for a $25 program at the moment. So what are you doing to bring it all home for them? Some people, they ended out by giving out a free 15 minutes discovery call. And you can call it whatever you want. People call it a find yourself call, a learn yourself. I mean, they call it all types of things, but it's a discovery call. Some people give out 15-minute discovery calls, getting people on the phone. It's really great because you get a better understanding of what it is that they really need. Some people sell from the stage and have like a small program. So if I know that I'm at an event for speakers, I know that I have a program that's $197 that will help you to develop a signature program for working with universities and schools. It's a full program. You get everything all bundled together and you can just have at it because that's all some people need. Well, that's $197. I can give that out and have no ifs, ands, or buts about it and keep it moving. But I have to know if that's something that the audience is going to need. Is that something that the audience is really going to want? Because if I'm not talking, if I'm literally at an event and nobody in the audience is a speaker or wants to be a speaker, then me offering up a speaker package or bundle is not going to work. Now, I may say, hey, were you looking to have more engagement over on social media or more engagement through your emails and things of that nature? Well, I have a great engagement bundle that can help you out. And I may offer them that bundle. We have to understand what's going on with our audience. Research, I know people don't want to do it. I understand. But research is going to be very important. And so I have to know my audience in order to know what I'm offering from the stage, if I have permission to offer from the stage. If not, you what you gonna do then? Because you may not always have permission to offer from the stage. And guys, I'm getting ready to wrap up. So if you have any questions, by all means, put them in the comments and I'll make sure I come through and answer those questions. So when I'm ending strong, I want to make it memorable. I want to reiterate what it was that I said during my speech. That repetition, again, is everything. Repetition is everything. So I want to go back through what I said in my speech. I want to go back through and, highlight, something that was really powerful, or highlight how they can get in contact with me, highlight how they can reach me, things of that nature. But I never want to think that the ending doesn't mean anything. It means a lot. Why? Because I've been standing before you for such amount of time. We've kind of built a little bit of a rapport now, a little bit. You get to know who I am a little bit more. And I want to take it to the next level. So my ending should be that thing of me telling you, I'd love to take this to the next level. Even if that's you doing a discovery call or us connecting on social media, send me a message, send me a review. Hey, I tell people all the time, let me know what you thought about it. If you thought really well of it, leave me a review. If you didn't even think so well of it, still leave me a review. I love to get those recommendations and reviews and endorsements and things of that nature, because it all plays out to your benefit, that you're actually doing the things that you say you're going to do. So with that being said, let me check to see if we have any questions in our audience. And I don't believe we do. Oh my goodness, we went through an episode without having any questions, guys. So when it comes to writing your signature speech, writing that amazing speech, guess what? You can do it. Just know that it has to come from you. It can't come from somebody else. I get people that, go, oh, well, do you write speeches for people? I do not. I will not ghostwrite a speech for you. Call it ethics. Call it just me being the unicorn. But I will not ghostwrite a speech for you. I will help you write a speech. I will sit down and my clients know my prices. And so we will sit down and we will write a speech. But in writing that speech, it's still going to be your speech. And I go through a whole process. It's still going to be your speech. It will not be me writing the speech. So with that being said, those of you that would love to get in contact with me, go to bit.ly/talk to Altovise. This was another episode of the Speak Easy podcast, where we talk about the behind the scenes of the speaker and author journey. Today, it was all about writing that signature speech, writing that perfect quote unquote speech, so that way you can wow the audience. And also you want to make sure that you're engaging with them. If you ever write a speech and you feel as though the audience is not really in tune to it, look at your speech. It's okay to be honest and say that your speech is boring. It's okay. I get it. I've had instances where my speech was not reaching the audience, and that was because I had not done the research for the particular audience that I was going to be in front of. So it wasn't reaching them the way I thought it was going to reach them. So I had to critique it in the middle of my speech, but that's okay. That's why being transparent and allowing it to be your unique story that you're sharing makes all the difference. So with that being said, if you are an author or a speaker, and you would love to be a guest here on the Speak Easy podcast, I would love to have you on. If you go to bit.ly/Speak Easy podcast, all lowercase, you can come and join in. We would greatly appreciate it. Spots are filling up pretty quickly. So as soon as you get an opportunity to, by all means, make sure that you go and you register. Until next time, guys, I appreciate you guys. Thank you. And this is your host, Altovise Pelzer, the voice coach, unicorn. Don't forget to press it out. See ya.